Picture this. It's a Tuesday evening, right? You just got off work.
Oh, the classic Tuesday slump.
Exactly. You are completely exhausted. Decision fatigue has totally set in, and you are just standing there in the middle of aisle 6 at your local grocery store.
Just staring blankly at the shelves.
Right. You just want to get dinner sorted. And you find yourself staring at this really brightly colored package. The font is bold, the design is super sleek, and there is this massive, unmissable sunburst graphic right on the front.
And let me guess what it says.
It proudly screams 0 milligrams cholesterol. So, you grab it, you toss it in your cart, and you feel this little ping of satisfaction. You're like, hey, I made the healthy choice today.
Which is exactly what they want you to feel.
But what if that moment of satisfaction was entirely manufactured? Like, what if you were just played by a multi-billion-dollar marketing machine that is entirely designed to blind you to what you're actually eating?
I mean, it's a scenario that plays out millions of times a day. And it's exactly the kind of deceptive psychological landscape we're going to navigate today.
Yeah, that's the whole mission for this deep dive.
Right. We're unpacking a really fascinating entry from a blog series called Notes on Dieting. Specifically, this is part 117, which was published in June 2026.
It's such a good piece.
It really is. The author takes a real magnifying glass to these ubiquitous health claims we see everywhere, and they expose the immense and frankly sometimes dangerous gap between what a food label implies and the actual biological reality of what happens inside your body.
And that is exactly what we want to do for you today. We are going to cut through the absolute avalanche of information overload you face every single time you need to buy groceries.
Because it is overwhelming.
It's so overwhelming. So we're decoding these grocery store marketing tactics so you can basically shortcut your way to becoming a fiercely well-informed consumer. Because honestly, walking into a modern grocery store feels exactly like walking into a Las Vegas casino.
Oh, that casino framework is the perfect way to look at it. It's a highly engineered environment, isn't it?
Completely engineered. Think about it. In a casino, everything is meticulously designed to distract you from the reality of the mathematical odds.
Right. The house always wins.
Exactly. You've got the flashing lights, the bells ringing, the weird patterned carpets. There are no windows, no clocks.
They want you looking at the shiny jackpot signs, not, your dwindling wallet.
Yes. And the modern grocery aisle is doing the exact same thing. Those flashy 0 milligrams cholesterol labels, they are the bright casino lights.
That's such a good point.
They are specifically designed to grab your attention and totally distract you from the stark mathematical reality of what you are actually putting into your cart. They absolutely do not want you reading the fine print on the back.
They really don't. And to truly understand why that specific label, the whole 0 cholesterol thing, is such an effective piece of misdirection, we first have to understand the fundamental biological truth about cholesterol itself.
The actual science of it.
Right. This is the underlying reality that food manufacturers are essentially banking on you not knowing.
Because if you understand how your body actually processes this stuff, the whole marketing illusion just shatters.
Exactly. What's fascinating here is that the core issue is this massive disconnect between the cholesterol we eat, which we call dietary cholesterol, and the cholesterol that actually circulates in our blood.
Which is the one doctors actually measure and worry about.
Right, exactly. For decades, going way back to the mid-20th century, the public has been conditioned to treat dietary cholesterol as the ultimate health villain.
Oh, yeah. Like eggs were the enemy for years.
Exactly. You see the word cholesterol on a box, and you are practically hardwired to associate it with clogged arteries and danger. But biologically speaking, the cholesterol you ingest does not just teleport directly into your bloodstream to cause havoc.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if the cholesterol I'm eating in my food isn't the main thing raising the cholesterol in my blood, what is? Like, where is it coming from?
Well, it is coming from your own body, specifically your liver.
Wait, my liver?
Yes. The vast majority of the cholesterol in your bloodstream, we were talking about roughly 70 to 80% of it, is naturally produced by your own liver.
Oh, wow. I had no idea it was that high.
Yeah, 70 to 80%. And that production volume is driven primarily by your individual genetics or your overall metabolism. The actual cholesterol you consume directly through food, it really only accounts for about 20 to 30% of your total blood cholesterol levels.
Wait, I'm genuinely confused here. Why is my liver actively pumping out the very substance I have been told my entire life is trying to kill me? That seems like a massive biological design flaw.
I know, right? That is the great irony of the anti-cholesterol marketing campaigns. It's not a design flaw at all. It's a biological necessity.
A necessity.
Yeah, cholesterol is not inherently evil. In fact, it is an essential structural component of every single cell membrane in your body.
Now,
Your body desperately needs it to synthesize vitamin D, to produce bile acids so you can actually digest your food, and to create crucial hormones like testosterone and estrogen. You literally cannot survive without it,
wow.
which is precisely why your liver manufactures it in such large quantities.
Okay, so making sure I have this straight. Worrying intensely about the dietary cholesterol from a packaged food is basically like worrying about a leaky faucet slowly dripping water into your swimming pool while your liver is standing right there at the deep end with an absolute fire hose.
That is a brilliant visual. Yes,
Yeah.
the liver is the fire hose. Now, we do have to be nuanced here, right?
Right.
There is a small segment of population that happens to be highly sensitive to dietary cholesterol. For them, that 20 to 30% dietary input might carry more weight.
Okay, fair enough.
But for the vast majority in the general population, they're far less impacted by the cholesterol they ingest from a piece of food. So by obsessing over that dripping faucet, you completely miss the biological bigger picture.
And the food companies absolutely know this, don't they? They know the science.
Oh, they definitely do. Which brings up a really crucial question. If dietary cholesterol isn't the primary driver of high blood cholesterol for most people, what actually is the fire hose trigger? Like, what makes the liver produce too much?
Yeah, what flips the switch?
The answer is saturated and trans fats. Those specific types of fats have a vastly more significant impact on your blood cholesterol levels than dietary cholesterol itself ever could.
Now, I need to push back on that for a second. If saturated fat is just a type of fat, how is it magically turning into cholesterol in my blood? Because those are two completely different substances, right?
That's a great distinction. And you're right, the fat isn't magically transforming into cholesterol. It's more about how saturated fat alters your liver's behavior.
Okay.
Think of your liver as having these tiny receptors on its surface, almost like little bouncers at a club.
Okay, bouncers. I like this.
Right, and their job is to pull excess cholesterol out of your bloodstream and clear it away. Keep the club from getting too crowded. But when you consume high amounts of saturated fat, it essentially impairs those receptors. It basically puts the bouncers to sleep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the liver can't clear the cholesterol efficiently, and it just starts building up in your blood.
Wow. So the very thing that actually impacts our heart health the most, the saturated fat, isn't the thing being blasted in giant neon letters on the front of the box?
Precisely. And this is why understanding that that 70-80 liver production versus the 20-30 dietary split is such a massive aha moment.
It completely changes everything.
It reorients your entire perspective as a consumer. Because once you realize the biological insignificance of that 0 milligrams cholesterol claim for the average person, you have to stop and ask yourself, what is the actual psychological purpose of this label?
Yes. If the dietary cholesterol itself isn't the primary health threat, then how do these zero cholesterol products actually harm us?
Because that 0 provides a false halo of health. It acts as a psychological shield, which is then weaponized by a really clever mathematical trick printed in the tiny text on the back of the box.
The fine print.
Always the fine print. A 0 milligrams cholesterol claim does absolutely nothing to make a product a healthy choice. It just lowers your defenses so you fall for the serving size sleight of hand.
Surfing size sleight of hand. Man, I love that term, but I also really hate that it's a reality we have to deal with. How exactly does this trick work?
It comes down to food manufacturers exploiting regulatory loopholes to use entirely unrealistic serving sizes.
Oh, yeah. Like when a tiny bag of chips says it contains 3.5 servings.
Exactly. They do this to make incredibly unhealthy, calorie-dense foods appear totally harmless on paper. The author of the June 2026 blog post highlights a really glaring example of this.
What's the example?
Well, they encountered this product aggressively touting a 0 milligrams cholesterol claim on the front. Huge letters. But when you flip the package over and, really squint at the extremely fine print, the official serving size is listed as just 1 single teaspoon.
1 teaspoon. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because who on earth actually eats just 1 teaspoon of anything? Unless we're talking about measuring out, like, pure vanilla extract for a cake recipe, nobody's sitting down on the couch to enjoy a single teaspoon of a snack.
No one.
Yeah.
And the manufacturer is fully aware of that. They know that in the real world, a consumer's not going to get out a measuring spoon.
Of course not.
You are highly likely to consume 3, 4, maybe even 5 or more servings in a single sitting without even thinking about it.
But because you saw 0 milligrams cholesterol in the front, your guard is down. You think, well, the box says it's healthy, it has 0 cholesterol, I can afford to have a few more handfuls.
And that is exactly where the trap snaps shut. By artificially minimizing the serving size down to a single teaspoon, the manufacturer artificially deflates all the negative numbers on the nutrition label.
Oh, that is sneaky.
Very. The calories look low, the total fat looks low, the sugar looks low. Because of rounding rules, they might even be able to round a fraction of a gram down to an absolute zero. But the moment you eat a normal, real-world volume of that food, you instantly multiply your intake of energy, fat, and sugar. A product that looks mathematically innocent on the label suddenly becomes a massive metabolic burden.
Is this essentially just legalized lying by omission? Because it feels so incredibly manipulative.
From a psychological standpoint, it is a masterclass in manipulation. It banks entirely on cognitive fatigue. Like you said earlier, at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday, in the middle of a crowded grocery aisle, you do not want to do complex math.
No, I just want to go home.
Right. You want shortcuts. You want to see the word zero and feel reassured. The manufacturer provides that shortcut, fully knowing you won't pause to multiply the fat and sugar content by 4 just to find out the real nutritional cost of what you're buying.
It's infuriating when you lay out the mechanics of it like that, because once the manufacturer has successfully tricked you with that serving size math, once they've got you eating 4 times the amount of sugar you thought you were, they follow it up with a secondary trick.
Oh, it gets worse.
Right. They start hiding the truly dangerous ingredients behind complex terminology.
Exactly. The zero cholesterol claim isn't just a shiny casino light. It is a deliberate distraction tactic designed to hide hidden villains.
Like what?
Specifically, it masks the presence of highly processed sugars, complex carbohydrates, and, perhaps most importantly, the wrong kinds of fats.
Let's really get into the weeds on these hidden villains, starting with the sugar, because most of us know to look for the word sugar on an ingredient list. But reading this source, it's pretty clear that looking for just that one word isn't nearly enough anymore.
Not at all. Looking at the total sugar line can be highly misleading because it easily masks the presence of complex carbohydrates and sugar alcohol.
Because food science has just gotten so advanced.
Incredibly sophisticated. Manufacturers don't just pour regular table sugar into the mixing vat anymore. They use highly processed, cheaper derivatives.
Like what specific words should we be, actually looking out for?
You absolutely must check the fine print of the ingredient list for hidden sugars, specifically named as corn syrup, or a very common one called maltodextrin.
Maltodextrin, I swear I see that word everywhere on so many packages.
It is everywhere.
But what actually is it? And why is it worse than just seeing regular sugar on the label?
Well, it's a highly processed carbohydrate, usually derived from corn, rice, or potato starch. They basically boil it down, add acids or enzymes, and turn it into this fine white powder.
Doesn't sound very appetizing.
No. And what makes it so insidious is its glycemic index, which is basically how quickly it affects your blood sugar.
Yeah.
Because it's essentially a pre-digested carbohydrate, it hits your bloodstream incredibly fast.
Faster than sugar.
Yes. It actually spikes your blood glucose levels faster and higher than pure table sugar does.
So it's basically a biological Trojan horse. It sounds vaguely scientific, maybe even harmless like a fiber or a preservative, but once it gets inside your body, it unleashes this massive sugar spike.
A Trojan horse is the exact right analogy. It flies completely under the radar of the average shopper who is just, skimming the label for the word sugar.
Wow.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, back to the casino, it is a classic magician's misdirection.
Look over here, not over there.
Exactly. The magician forces you to look at the waving hand, the zero cholesterol claim, so you don't see what the other hand is doing with the maltodextrin in the shadows. And one of the biggest things they hide in those shadows is the truth about the fat content.
Right, because earlier we established that saturated fats are the real drivers of blood cholesterol,
Yeah.
the fire hose that puts the liver's bouncers to sleep.
Exactly. And yet this brings us to a deeply concerning labeling tactic. The total fat listing on these products often entirely fails to break down the specific types of fat.
It just lumps it all together.
It gives you a lump sum. So it might say total fat, 8 grams. But it doesn't differentiate between saturated fats and unsaturated fats, meaning the mono or polyunsaturated fats.
Okay, but why is the lack of that specific breakdown so dangerous? Like, if the total fat number is relatively low, isn't that enough information?
No, because all fats do not behave the same way in your body. We know saturated fats impair your liver's ability to clear cholesterol, right?
Right, the sleeping bouncers.
But unsaturated fats, like the kind you find in olive oil or avocados, actually do the opposite. They can improve your blood lipid profile and really support heart health.
Oh, so they help the bouncers do their job.
Exactly. But if a label just gives you a lump sum, you have absolutely no idea if those 8 grams are highly damaging saturated fats or beneficial unsaturated fats.
That is so frustrating.
It is. By refusing to provide that breakdown, the manufacturer is actively depriving you of the data you actually need to protect your cardiovascular health.
I mean, it's like a used car salesman aggressively pointing out a shiny new radio so you don't notice the car is literally missing its engine and has 4 flat tires.
That is a very accurate comparison.
So putting this all together, the 0 milligrams cholesterol label really isn't just a harmless little marketing slogan.
Not at all. It is a highly calculated, deliberate marketing strategy. The goal is to force you to focus your attention entirely on a single biological non-issue, the dietary cholesterol, totally blinding you to an exhaustive list of real negatives.
The hidden stuff.
High sodium, Trojan horse sugars like maltodextrin, and an undisclosed, potentially dangerous amount of saturated fat.
Which means to actually navigate aisle 6 safely, you practically need a magnifying glass, a calculator, and a degree in biochemistry.
You really do.
You have to know the 70-30 liver split, you have to multiply serving sizes by 4 in your head, and you have to know how maltodextrin impacts your glycemic index.
It is an absolutely unsustainable burden for the everyday consumer.
It really is. And that brings us to a really crucial part of what we're looking at today, because the author of Notes on Dieting doesn't just point out all these flaws and leave us feeling totally helpless, right?
Thankfully, no.
They propose a very clear macro-level policy solution for food labeling to actually fix this broken system.
Yes. The author advocates for the implementation of a new universal grading system for food policy. The concept is beautifully straightforward. Basically, you assign simple letter grades A, B, C, D, and F to all food products.
And make them put it on the front.
Yes, legally require them to be clearly displayed on the front of the packaging.
So just like a report card in school, an A means it's structurally sound and good for you, a C means, you've got some nutritional compromises, and an F means put it back on the shelf immediately.
Exactly. The whole goal of this proposed system is to allow consumers to make quick, genuinely informed choices about what they're putting into their bodies, completely bypassing the need to decode complex nutritional math or, translate chemical names in the fine print.
So what does this all mean? Like, how does an A through F grade actually defeat the specific tricks we just talked about? How does it stop the serving size sleight of hand, for instance?
Well, because the grade wouldn't be based on a single, isolated metric like cholesterol. And it definitely wouldn't be calculated based on the manufacturer's arbitrary serving size.
Wow, okay.
The grade would be calculated by an independent regulatory algorithm assessing the total nutritional profile. So it would weigh the good elements like fiber and protein against the bad elements like sodium, maltodextrin, and saturated fat ratios.
That makes so much sense.
And crucially, it would be calculated based on a standardized, realistic volume of food, like 100 grams, not a single tiny teaspoon.
Oh, that's brilliant. It completely takes the power to frame the narrative away from the food manufacturer's marketing department.
Yeah.
And it just hands the power back to the consumer in a format they can actually process in, like 5 seconds.
Exactly.
You don't have to be a biochemist to know that an apple gets an A and a box of corn syrup-laden crackers gets a D, regardless of what shiny zero cholesterol sticker they slap on the front.
Precisely. It cuts right through the cognitive overload of the grocery store.
But here is my issue with that. That is great for the future, sure, but we don't live in that reality yet.
Unfortunately, no.
We don't have that universal A through F grading system implemented by law right now. And telling someone to just read the label carefully directly contradicts what we just talked about. We literally just established that reading the label requires a biochemistry degree and is an unsustainable burden.
It's true.
So what do you actually do tonight at the grocery store to apply this grading mindset?
It is a totally valid point. While we wait for systemic change, the consumer is absolutely at a disadvantage. But you don't have to do the complex math to protect yourself. You just need a simpler heuristic.
Okay, heuristic. Okay.
Yeah, a mental shortcut of your own to fight theirs.
Okay, give us a shortcut. How do we do it?
First, change your relationship with the front of the box entirely. When you see a loud, proud health claim like 0 milligrams cholesterol, stop treating it as a green light. Treat it as a red flag.
A red flag, I like that.
Ask yourself, what are they trying to distract me from? Second, skip the math And just look at the first 3 items on the ingredient list, just the first 3.
Right.
If you can't picture those ingredients actually growing in nature, or if you spot a Trojan horse like maltodextrin or corn syrup right at the top, you don't need to calculate the saturated fat ratios. Just mentally assign the product a D or an F and move on. Look for whole ingredients.
It really is a journey of awareness, isn't it? We've gone from blindly trusting the front of the box to realizing our liver produces up to 80% of our cholesterol anyway, entirely independent of what that label says.
Yep.
We've uncovered the absurdity of the 1 teaspoon serving size trap designed to multiply our intake of calories. And we've learned how to spot those Trojan horse ingredients like maltodextrin while recognizing the real danger of obscured saturated fats.
And by synthesizing all of those biological and psychological facts, you are no longer the target demographic for these marketing illusions.
You're immune to it.
Basically, you have the knowledge to see right through the misdirection. You understand the actual mechanisms of how your body processes fat and sugar. And that not only saves you time in the grocery store, but it ultimately protects your long-term cardiovascular health. You essentially learn to count the cards in the casino.
You really have. You are armed and dangerous in aisle 6 now.
Huh.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a brand new, somewhat lingering question to ponder as you think about all this. It builds on everything we've uncovered today.
Oh, I love these. What is the question?
Think about it this way. What if the very act of hunting for healthy labels is exactly what makes us most vulnerable to making unhealthy choices?
Oh, wow.
Think about a whole unprocessed apple sitting in the produce section, or a bag of raw almonds. They don't need flashy, brightly colored labels screaming that they have 0 cholesterol.
Because they just are what they are.
Exactly. They just are what they are. So maybe, just maybe, the presence of a loud, desperate health claim printed on a shiny piece of cardboard isn't a helpful guide at all. Maybe it's actually the biggest warning sign of all. The next time you're standing under those fluorescent lights, staring down a box that is trying a little too hard to convince you it's a safe bet, remember that the house always wins when you play their game. So don't look at the flashing lights, look at the cards.